Hi there, hope that you're doing well. So continuing the history of England from the reign of Henry II in 1154. During his reign, Henry II created the Royal Assizes, which were to issue the King's justice up and down the land, as to be judged by a jury of 12 lawful men, proceedings conducted in French, reminding the ordinary English folk of their inferior status. Henry II's relations with the talented young cleric named Thomas à Becket was to go down in English folklore. Quickly rising in favour, Henry insisted that in 1162 Becket become the Archbishop of Canterbury. Becket reluctantly doing so, stating it would be God he would serve before the king. The two men were increasingly at odds with each other, having previously been so close, culminating in the guards mishearing a sick Henry lamenting his low-born cleric's ingratitude before racing to Canterbury and stabbing Becket to death. The news horrified medieval Europe, and Henry was forced to do penance, walking barefoot to Becket's shrine, where he spent the night being whipped by monks. In 1169, Henry was forced to sail to Ireland to support the claim of one of his marcher lords, the Earl of Pembroke, before declaring his fourth son, John, as Lord of Ireland. Planning to crown John King of Ireland once he'd got the Pope on side, but neither the Irish or the Normans were keen on John himself, so the plan was shelved. Henry's son Richard chased his father across France until he agreed to name him as heir, before dying at Chinon in 1189. Enter Richard the Lionheart. Richard was to only spend around 7 months of his 10-year reign in England, and he used special taxes levied to create revenue for the Crusades in the Holy Lands, Richard himself being held for ransom on his return. John wanted to pay the Holy Roman Emperor to keep his brother in captivity, but royal officials raised the 100,000 marks necessary to release him. King Philip of France warning John to look to yourself, the devil is loose. Richard was to spend 5 more years on various campaigns before dying on the battlefield. His brother John surpassing the young Arthur, who was next in line to the throne. Arthur was soon to disappear. The country was on the very brink of bankruptcy, John being forced by 1204 to concede all of his French possessions, for the next 10 years plotting in vain to win them back. The Battle of the Bovines saw French victory, leading to the modern-day France in 1214. The discontented barons at home forced John to sign the Magna Carta on the fields of Runnymede in June of 1215, asserting the rights of the nobles against the king, such as the independence of the church, taxes being agreed by Parliament, and the right to a fair trial by a jury of your peers. John almost immediately went to the Pope, who denounced the charter as unfair and unjust. John then invited mercenaries from northern France, the barons striking back by inviting the King of France to invade, John going on the run before dying of dysentery. Matthew Paris, who was a monk and a historian at the time, writing, foul as it is, hell itself is made fouler by John's presence. So I guess he didn't like him too much then. So John's son Henry was only 9 years old on assuming the throne, and being salvaged, the throne being salvaged by Louis, the King of France's defeat at Lincoln. England, however, became more French. The building of a new Westminster Abbey in 1245 was modelled on the latest French cathedrals. Civil war soon broke out, being rival groups of Frenchmen fighting. The English-born Frenchmen were led by Simon de Montfort, who forced Henry to agree to the provisions of Oxford in 1258 being read out in English as well as French for the first time in over 200 years, and the last time for quite a while as well. This stated that the king was subject to a council of 15 and that Parliament was to meet 3 times a year. Henry soon reneged on this agreement, leading to war and his capture, along with his son and heir, Prince Edward, after the Battle of Lewes. De Montfort allowed Henry to remain king, but as news came of Prince Edward's escape, and with him being supported by nobles who deeply resented de Montfort's populist tendencies, he was quickly set upon and hacked to pieces, and virtually all of his followers were annihilated. Well, thank you so much for watching the video, and if you've got any comments or suggestions, I'd be more than happy to hear them. Have a great day.